45 cents to mail, 38, Anyway, I'm ready to go when you are.
All right. I'm Christina Matheson, and welcome to the Power of Connection. I am so excited to have Bill Corbett with us today. Bill, thank you so much for coming.
I'm excited to be here with you, too. Let's have a good show.
Yeah, thank you so much. So the history that Bill and I have is that basically wherever I've been for the past 10 or 15 years, Bill Corbett is.
I'm like a remora, like on a shark. I just follow you.
Everywhere. I always see Bill. And in my opinion, one of the reasons why is that you're so good at what you do. And you've been working on this for so many years. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got there.
I was talking to someone before, and it's been about 32 years, in this business. My father started a PR firm in Floral Park, Corbett Public Relations, 32 years ago, around 1990. And then about 5 years later, I took over the helm. He went off in a little bit of a different direction, was still part of the firm, and really got to know business people on Long Island, got to know different organizations on Long Island, and it's really been a wonderful career, a wonderful opportunity for me to work with people, get to know people that I don't just work with, that I like to work with and like to help, and we have mutually, beneficial relationships, and I leverage my skill sets, getting to know people in the media and connecting my clients with those people to tell stories, whether it's in Newsday or the Today Show or Fox News or CNN. Over the years, it's been a remarkable journey, and I've worked in almost every industry, from healthcare to mortgages to real estate and development, transportation, railroads, airplanes. I've really done planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah,
really everything. So it's been a pleasure, and really I'm a promoter and protector of my clients' brands and businesses, and really we're known as Long Island's public relations firm, Corbett Public Relations. So that's my
I can
that's my
attest
story.
to that. The funny thing is that while we see each other everywhere, what you do is not the thing that people see. People see your clients,
Right.
in the end. And so you're kind of like the guy behind the scenes, which I
I'm
love.
I'm Oz.
Yes,
Behind
you're
the
making
curtain.
the magic.
Yeah.
Making the magic. It's all the rage with all of the social media to talk about personal brand. And everybody wants to build their brand, and they want to know how to build their brand. And aside from, social media, there's a whole lot to it. So I thought maybe while you were here, you could give us your feeling on how is it best to build a brand. And let me step back for a second. The power of connection is something that brings us all together. So using that power of connection, like the power of building a brand is so much more, so much stronger, so much more powerful. So tell us, building your personal brand, what's the tips? What's your advice?
I think first we start off with, what is it? What is a personal brand? And in my view, it's how people perceive you, what they think of you when they hear your name, they see your company brand. What do they think? They think quality, they think excellence, they think of the reputation that you've built. So number one, I think that people have to think about building their brand, building their reputation. Your reputation is your most valuable asset. And without a reputation, you really have nothing, because people aren't going to come to you, they're not going to hire you, they're not going to recommend you, they're not going to trust you, they're not going to care about you. So you have to build a brand, and how do you do that? And that's branding, where you are out in the public, you talk to people, you provide solutions, you serve people the way they deserve to be served, and you help them achieve their goals. It's not about me, it's about them. So personal branding is really not about yourself, it's about the people around you. And they create your brand, because it's their perception of you. So it's not that complex. Personal branding has been around forever. It just got a catchy name now.
Yeah, it's
with
fancy
social
now.
media, and you can do it yourself because you got Facebook and LinkedIn and all this stuff. But we've been doing personal branding since well before the 32 years that I mentioned that our firm's been around. People have been building their brands forever. But now we have great new tools with social media that makes it easier for people to build a brand. And look, I could put a post up on Instagram and tens of thousands, perhaps even 1 million people see it if it was done well and it has the right hashtags and people are interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a real important thing. And again, we get back to community, whether it's a small community or a large community, you're serving that community and you're building your reputation. And whatever logo you attach to it, that's nice, but your reputation comes first.
Absolutely.
Great advice. one of the things that we've worked on in the past is media, news coverage. And you've always done an amazing job wherever I've been, or, I very proudly recommended you many, many times because I think that nobody does, the quality of work and has the access to more outlets than you. And when you want to use media, you want to have some news coverage. Why is that so much better than just putting it out yourself?
Well, it's credibility, right? It means, we say in the business, it's a third party endorsement of you and or your business or your product or your service, right? When a news outlet, so let's just say it's a Newsday or it's a Long Island Business News here on Long Island, but it could be the New York Times or USA Today. When they write about you, they've vetted you, they've investigated you to say you are a legit business person, you're a legit expert. They give you that little seal of approval, and then they put their masthead above the story, above the title, and they're in there. So they use their brand of trust to convey it upon you. So it's building of that credibility. So that's why being in the media helps build the credibility, and then it also is a tool that you can use. Obviously, a lot of people see it, so
Right.
that's fantastic. But it's also a competitive advantage. When people have a media presence, say I'm in public relations, you're in mortgages, or someone's in real estate or some other business, and you're active in the news and people are talking to you, well, you know what? They're not talking to your competitor, and so you're kind of pushing them out of a field of marketing that they want to be in. So by having, it's like market share in terms of media market share. You're pushing people out, and your message and your name and your brand is there. And then there's lots of other benefits like SEO and other value that's there as well. So we can dig into all that. But media relations it's not as difficult as people might think. People can do it on their own, and we can even share some tips and tactics that people can use.
So what if they wanted to do it on their own? I mean, I just think it would be so much better to hire a Bill Corbett, because you've got all of those connections and you've built your reputation so that when you're going to the outlets, they know who you are. Right. Why would I do it myself?
Well, here's the difference. Okay, so like I'm doing this every day, so I can talk to a TV station or TV news program, every day with 20 different clients that I have. So I can talk to them about 20 different conversations. A lot of times, if it's one business, they may only have one product or one service or the business themselves, and so they can't be calling that same outlet every day. So the frequency of contact is down. But that doesn't mean that if you have a good reputation as a mortgage professional, as a real estate professional, or any payroll, whatever business, and you have good information, that you can easily build a relationship with media outlets if you have the willingness to do it, the time to invest, and a little bit of understanding how the media works. And it does take a little bit of knowledge and time. We've been doing it for 30 years, so I think I'm pretty good at it. But the fact is that you can practice it yourself, and if you don't have a big budget, you can do some of these things on your own until you get to a point where you could hire someone like me who is doing it full time, who knows the media well, and has an easier time doing it because we do it all the time. But I would not deter people from giving it a try. And I'll happily share some little tips and things that people can do to reach out to the media, and maybe some things not to do. Because you don't want to
So
get
tell us
them
about that.
angry.
And you mentioned, people don't know right off how media works.
Right.
So how does media work, and what are your tips and tricks?
We'll start off with different kinds of media, right? We have podcasts, we have radio, we have newspapers, or newspapers are mostly online and print versions these days, right? And you have TV news, local TV news channel in New York, Channel 5, Channel 11, Channel 7, Channel 2, and we have cable like Channel 12 here on Long Island. So they all approach news a little bit differently. Like you have a Channel 12, they have to fill up an entire day of news. So they're going to be looking for more things to cover, right? You have a Newsday. They have lots of different sections. They're going to look for different things to cover, but you also have to know what people to contact in the different departments of a larger news organization like a Newsday. And radio, there's different radio stations that cover, some cover business, some cover news, some cover sports. So you have to, pick and choose the ones that are appropriate for what you know. So that's really the first thing is understanding the outlet, one, and then two, take your your mortgage hat off, your real estate hat off, and pretend you're a reporter for a minute and put that hat on your head and say, well, what's a reporter's job? Their job is to tell a story that's relevant to something that's going on in the world and newsworthy, as we say, and they want to hear from people that have newsworthy things to say. They're not in the business of giving you a commercial, but they are interested in hearing about why you're an expert in a particular area, whether it's what's the home selling market like right now, what are interest rates like right now, what are consumers looking for in a home? I'm using real estate examples, here, but it could be what kind of cars do people want, whatever. So you have to think about what they're looking for and how you can make.
So they're looking for expertise in a certain area that they're looking to cover.
Most of the time, and you can have news of your own. You could have a 100th anniversary, or you could have a, other event happening with your new product launch or something like that.
What makes it newsworthy?
Usually, if it's part of a trend, if it's something new, new, right? Trend, something interesting, and a product or service that solves a problem. And also if there's an interesting expert who has a different take on what's happening. So the cybersecurity is a big topic right now. So people who are involved in IT and they see a data breach at a law firm. Well, if you're in IT and you can comment on that, and give your local TV station a call and say, hey, that probably happened because of XYZ, or this is what a company that faces that should do. So you can leverage your expertise. I can tell you they're looking for people like that to respond to these things, because a lot of times they're dialing and trying to find people to respond, and it's hard for them to get those sources right away. And if you can respond and build a good relationship and you can be there for them when they need you, they'll come back to you. You become the go-to person.
I never really thought of that. That they want people who have experience in what's current and what's going on. And I love that. I never really thought of that. So being newsworthy, you're solving a problem, you're something unique. If you had some kind of a new product in your business, would that be newsworthy?
Absolutely. New product. What do products do? Typically, the product solves a problem,
right?
Or meets a need of some kind. So if you have it, and here's another big tip is, okay, what's the visual? Right, this isn't super visual in this podcast, but people are going to listen to it and watch us, right? But I always look at what's the visual component to a story. Now, cybersecurity, that's kind of hard because you're just like there's a box. It's a computer with a blinking light, So it's hard to talk about cybersecurity, but you can interview people about how it impacted them and the trouble they had because of it, or the pain that they went through to recover their ID. So now you can make it into a personal story. But so one is you need the visual. Two, you need the relevance to the news or a trend and solving that problem. But at the end of the day, most news is about people.
Right.
It's about people. Because they can't interview a computer yet. You might have AI in the future, but they can't interview non-people. And they want to talk to people who can share their emotions, they can share their expertise, and share perspective.
So if you were doing your own PR and you wanted to get
I just hire you because you say so many nice things about me.
That's so funny. No, they're true. If you wanted to do this yourself and you had some kind of a business, if you kept an eye out for what's going on in the news and could offer some positive contribution in terms of value, then you should contact who?
So, first I would start looking at the media outlets where you want to be. Like, so say if we have a Long Island centric podcast here for say, if you are on Long Island and say you want to be in Newsday, you would look at the Newsday business section, and you would look for and it's easy there because the email addresses for all the reporters are right there, right? And if you see the person who writes about real estate or writes about technology, you have their email address right there. And then if you hear a story about cybersecurity and say, you know what, I have a couple comments on that, or this same thing happened to a client of mine, and I can comment, send that person an email and just say, hey, tell them a little bit about who you are and explain a couple of thoughts you have on that particular story. Or I tell you, some of these reporters just like to hear back from people and say, hey, I read your story. I found it interesting. I'm in this business too. Here's a little bit of an interesting take. They might not call you right that second, but you've commented, you've made the effort and intent to communicate, build a relationship, share some information. And I can tell you a lot of times just slowly doing that over the course of time
Feedback.
does become valuable to them. Really, the reporters are very tight. We're all tight on time.
Yeah.
But they're very tight on time, and they have a deadline.
Yeah.
Right. So they need help. Guess how many reporters there are compared to PR people?
I have no idea.
I'm going to give you a multiple choice. There's 3, 5, or 9 for every one PR person. There's 3, 5, or 9 members of the media or reporters.
Oh, let's go with
9 to 1. Yeah, 9 to 1.
So they all need help finding their sources.
Well, there's 9 of us, in this situation, bombarding them to some degree with pitches and ideas and all this stuff. So that's a little bit on the negative side, right? But there's so few of them. When their editors and producers say, "Hey, do a story on whatever," they're scurrying around trying to get sources if they don't have one, especially if it's something kind of new and different.
Right.
So they need help. So they need help from PR people. I get a lot of calls because I have helped them, they've helped me, and we build that relationship, right? And but I think a lot of them are very willing to hear from other people. They do want to mix it up. They do want other experts.
Yeah.
And just don't be afraid to reach out.
They don't
demand.
want the same old thing, I would
No,
think. They want some kind
They
of
want some
new
different
and-
perspectives.
Yeah.
Sometimes counterintuitive perspectives are interesting. Remember during COVID, we had a lot of people were leaving the cities, right? Well, there were some people that saw that as an opportunity to move into the cities because they were able to get properties either for purchase or for rent less. So there was a counterintuitive story.
Yeah.
There were people interested in that. We saw the vaccine stories. A lot of people wanted to get the vaccine, but we also knew that people didn't want to get the vaccine. So there's both sides of a lot of stories that people can lend their thoughts and commentary to, which is interesting.
It is interesting, and I think that's what we all want to hear about. We want to hear both sides of the story. We don't just want to hear one.
Right. Want the facts, want the truth, but a couple of different perspectives are good. Right. Like you see like government stories, like people, they'll interview a government person, then they'll interview a private sector person or people from both parties. It's not political, just the fact that they want to, many times they want to get both sides of the story. That's the journalists that do that have the greatest integrity, so. There's just certainly biased out there, but no doubt. But the stories that have both sides and cover it to educate the public really is the role of the media.
So interesting. So you get an article in, let's call it Newsday. You get an article in Newsday. So for me call me a realtor. I'm in Newsday as a realtor. My property that I've listed as being shown and represented, and they interview me about something. Other than, wow, that's cool, what does it do for my SEO? What does it do for my business? What is the real value there? Okay.
So let's just say it's a story about staging a home, right? You're an expert at staging homes to help sell them better, right? And this story has been done a million times, so it's not an unusual pitch or an unusual story to read, right? Okay, so one, you're going to get a copy of the story, right? You can Newsday, you can get a printed copy, you can get a PDF copy, and you have that, right? That's an asset. That's a marketing asset. Again, it gives you the credibility. We're featured in there, your picture's there, right? And you can then share that with your farming list, the people who you've done business with in the past, and prospects. And so every realtor should be building their big list. We talked about this at seminars and things like that. So they have so that reinforces the credibility. Hey, I was in the news. People think I'm important. People think I'm an expert. One. Then if you are doing a Google search or you're searching for somebody, and let's say for example you're searching for homes in Massapequa, right? And you're a realtor in Massapequa, that story mentioned that you're Bill Corbett, realtor from Massapequa. Well, what's going to happen? That story will be more findable. I'm not saying it's number one in Google, but it's out there.
Right.
But imagine if you had it in Newsday, then you had it on the Patch, then you had it in the Herald newspaper, then you were also in the New York Times in a story, then you were in News 12 on a story. Now you've built up a lot of different places where Bill Corbett, Massapequa real estate are all in the same place. What are those keywords, right? They may not be searching for Bill Corbett, but they're going to be searching for real estate Massapequa. And what happens?
There's Bill Corbett.
I'll be there more frequently. I had a client that was in the payroll industry, right? Long Island payroll over years. So that if you just did it, then you get to a natural Google search. If you just typed in Long Island payroll, not paid, not sponsored, he had like 7 of the next listings that weren't websites. They were just stories that he had been in over the years, and that gave him, again, that competitive advantage. Now think about how powerful it is to push competitors off the first page of Google. All cow.
Without paying.
Right, without paying. Well, you pay the PR person in some
Right, but
cases,
still,
right?
you didn't
But you
pay for
push
you
them
didn't
off,
pay
and most
Google.
people never go to the second page.
No.
So they're going to go to the first page. So, and if you buy an ad and then you pushed everybody else off or half of them off, you've gone from 1 in 10 chances to 1 in 5 chances of getting the call. So that's a. But that comes from a long-term investment in this type of strategy, and PR is just part of a marketing strategy. I believe in the marketing pizza. Different. Every slice of pizza is a different type of marketing. You got SEO and websites, or social media, PR, video, direct mail, email. All those different things make up the marketing pizza, and you need a comprehensive marketing plan. But PR takes a good slice of that helps all the other slices and makes a complete meal.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting hungry now.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen what you've done. And I oftentimes feel that PR is the missing piece because it takes all of the other good stuff that you do and it puts it in the forefront.
And larger audiences see it. I think PR kind of has lost its luster a little bit, but I think during the pandemic and a time period, and as social media matured, that social media, for some, doesn't achieve as many of the objectives as they want it to. So they need to do that marketing pizza. They need to do several different things, and maybe with some PR stories plugged into your social media stream, it even makes that more powerful. It gives you more credibility.
It's a third party saying you're important.
And it's just, I think there's a lot of people rely a little bit too heavily on social. They need to look at their holistic marketing plan, and I think everybody should have not everybody. Some types of businesses may not value as much from PR as others. Whether it's B2B or B2C.
Right. Just so amazing. When you look at how business is done now versus how business was done 25 years ago, it's night and day. Are there some things that just remain the same?
I mean, the theory behind personal branding and building a reputation, I don't think that's new. I mean, I think, probably back in Roman times, they had carvings of people and statues to build their brands and how great they were, and paintings of people.
Accolades.
And telling how great stories about generals and other people, so that built their brand and their reputation with people that never could go online. They might not even have a book, So it's been around for a long time. The techniques and the strategies for doing it now are now down onto the personal level, where literally a person can do it for themselves, and they don't have to rely on marketing agencies and other things to get their message out to a large. Look, it's a great time. It's a great time to be in marketing because you can reach literally millions and millions of people, with not too much effort.
So in real estate, we have our goal is to be, I want to be the agent that people call, and I want to be able to market those properties. So with the proper use of social media and being diligent about it, it's something that's achievable. So we see it all the time that it used to be flyers and you used to see a real estate office. Now it's all about SEO, about Google. Every realtor has a web page. Yeah. People want that.
I'm going to tell you something. I worked with RE/MAX for many, many years. So over 20 years, I worked for RE/MAX in New York, Pennsylvania, and a couple of the states we worked with part of that time. And I still get letters from one of the agents that I worked with. I've probably gotten a letter in the mail, a written printed letter with hockey schedules, and once a year I get a scratch-off lottery thing. Every month for about 20 years, I have gotten a piece of mail from this woman, right? If I ever going to buy a house in the Albany area, I'm definitely going to her. I'm not going to buy one in the Albany area anytime soon anyway.
Right.
But farming and traditional marketing combined, because that stuff works, combined with the new technology to help it be more efficient, or to add a different layer to it, is definitely, in my view, back to the marketing pizza. You don't want to leave anything off the table that works. And some of these old school, grinding it out letters and calls and recent sales and postcards and knocking on doors and things like that, they all work. It's just a matter of how much energy and time people have.
Yeah.
Which is challenging. People have less. I don't know. People have less. Everybody has the same amount of time, but how it's filled is different.
Yeah, people do different things.
Yeah.
So we are here on Long Island, and one of the things that we have is we have a lot of these. You can be the top this. You can get this award. You can go to this gala. You can be in this. You can be the. I've been, Long Island Business News. I've been I'm very grateful to be have chosen by them a few times. What does that do for somebody? Should people that are in whatever industry, should they throw their hat in the ring for these things?
Okay, so I think there's like a good, the bad, the ugly of it, right? It's the good, the good, right? Any way you can get your name out there and people see it, and it's associated with the best or leader or whatever, that's good. That builds your brand. And then I'm going to say the bad, and that's not necessarily that it's bad, but a lot of these awards aren't necessarily earned. That they know that you can pay, right? So that's kind of like the bad, but you're still there, and if you paid, there's still some value to it. So it's not like you're getting ripped off or anything. It's just that it's more. It's not like it's not
just not free.
I'm not going to say it's not legit, but I'm just going to say it's that you pay for it. It's pay to play a little bit. Not everybody, but in some circumstances. Right. And then the ugly is that in some cases, if so many people know that it's a pay to play thing, that it almost can hurt you a little bit. Like I'm not gonna say what, but there's a certain legal award that is offered that is a very pay to play. There's some people who do pay to play video programs for people, like saying we selected you because you're the best, and we're going to do a video for you. It's going to cost you $30,000. Probably not worth what it is. So your reputation is your greatest asset. So you need to protect your asset. So the last point on this really is, if you're just starting out or you're earlier in your career, and a recognition can help jumpstart this or move the ball down the field a little bit. Got a football over in the corner there I'm looking at. Move the ball down a little bit, then they're good. In most cases, there's no real harm to it, but just you have to understand what the award's reputation is as well. Right. I've gotten plenty of awards. I got one this week. It was a nice award, recognized. I appreciated it, and it did allow me to meet people at the event too, and fellow honorees, which was good. So, there's not a lot of downside to it, but you got to be a little bit careful to some of the pay to play situations.
You don't want to go for everyone. You want to check them out.
Yeah.
One of the things that I push hard, so I am what's called a realtor success specialist, and I work with our realtor partners to help them build their business. So as you know, I love building a business, and I encourage them to start to do video. And while most are relatively uncomfortable, and we understand, right? You talk to a camera, it does not talk back. There are no facial expressions. You can't tell if you're saying, if your message is being received well, and it can for some be a scary thing to get into. But I encourage everybody to do it because it helps with the know, like, trust factor. What are your thoughts on doing video versus not doing video for social media or where else?
I think it's very hard today to avoid it and not do it. I recognize too that it's uncomfortable. But look, there's a lot of actors who are on television and stuff who've never seen themselves perform. They've never watched themselves on TV. And if you feel uncomfortable watching yourself, don't watch yourself. So just don't. Just be yourself, do your thing. And you want to watch it in the sense that to make sure that maybe that you find some mannerisms or some actions in your my hand movements aren't good or whatever. Or I'm dodging my eyes around. So you want to learn a little bit maybe from watching it. But some people cringe. They don't want to watch themselves. But I think if you're not doing it, it goes back to that competitive disadvantage or competitive advantage. If you're not out there, your competitors are out there. They're doing all the things that are going to win them business, and you're not doing them. Maybe you're very good at some of the other things, and maybe it compensates for it. But I think anybody who's not doing video, I used to say, if you weren't doing video, you're 3 years behind your competition. I've been saying that for 10 years. So I think if you're not doing video, you're 5 years behind your competition. It's going to take you 10 years to catch up. So it's critical that video is a component to what you do, and you should think about media training. You should think about what you're going to say. You should practice, because every time you're on video is a performance. We're performing here, and we want to make it interesting for people. We don't want to make it boring and turn the channel. We want them to engage and look in. That's why I pepper what we're talking about with tips and stories and things like that. It's all intentional, and then that hopefully keeps people engaged for 30 minutes that we're on this conversation. So you have to think about it with intent,
Yeah.
And so yes, video is super, super important. If you're not doing it, you're probably hurting your brand and hurting your career, or not doing it's kind of like brand negligence.
Yeah.
You're neglecting, all the aspects of what you need to do for your brand.
Yeah.
And let me add know, like, trust. I add on know, like, trust, love, right? People they know you, they get to like you, they get to trust you, and when they love you, they're definitely going to refer you. So
that's a big giant deal, because one of the silly things that I talk about is, in any business where you're selling something, right? Every customer is that customer, but if you could just imagine, there are 10 trains in a train yard, and every train has 20 cars. So even though I may have gotten that customer in the first train car to be my customer and to love me or to like me, when they love me, they're going to refer me to all of those other ones.
Absolutely.
So if you think about it, instead of having 10 clients, I could have 200 clients if I'm just doing the right thing and providing that like, trust.
Don't you want someone to say, hey, hey, I need to I need a realtor, and Christina's a realtor. It's like, you know what? You should not go to you have to go to Christina. She's the only that's the kind of referral you want.
Right.
You don't even think about anybody else.
So that's funny, because that's what I do for you.
I know you do, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
But that know, like, trust, love. It's like it's beyond raving fans. People say, "Oh, the Mets
it's
are
your person."
right." It's not that. It's like, no, you're going to come to the game with me, and you're going to watch the Mets or the Jets or the Giants or the Islanders or whatever,
right.
And I want you to be a fan with me, because I love this so much that you have to love it like me too.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't, but that's how much they're passionate about it. But how does that happen? Through trust, and trust is built by doing a good job, and doing a good job creates a good reputation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the full personal branding circle.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so personal branding versus business branding. Mm-hmm. Does it depend on the industry? So if I work for a company, I should be branding that company. How can I do my best as an employee or as an asset for a company to get that company name out there?
This is a very interesting tightrope, right? Because everybody's responsible for their own brand and their own life and their own career, right? You never know where your life and career is going to go, right? When you work for somebody, granted, you want to succeed in that job, you want that business to do well while you're there, and you want to contribute, maybe move up the career ladder, become a president, vice president, whatever it is, So you have to think about that balance and how your reputation working within that company will help the company and help you. There's some companies that don't want you to do some of these external things, speaking, talking to the media, social media, because that overshadows the company. I have a friend of mine who is super great at social media, and she was using her social media as part of her job at a hospitality institution, right? But she began to overshadow both the company and their bosses. People knew her as that hospitality institution. I don't want to say it because people might know it.
Yeah, no, we
right?
don't want to do that.
So she lost her job because of it. She was so popular and did social media so well, it helped bring business into the company, but they saw her as a threat. So you have to kind of walk that line. But she's gotten other jobs and she's done very well. But there's a lesson to be learned that you can only want to push it as far as your supervisors will allow you, unless you own your own company, then you can do what the hell you want, right? But there's a little bit of a danger there if you're you're a team player. You don't want to make the CEO mad at you, and they do get jealous even if they don't say it.
That's funny. And so if I am a business owner and I own a restaurant, what am I doing? What tips would you give to get those people into my restaurant? What should I be doing as that restaurant owner?
Well, the first thing before you do anything, food has to be good. So
Yes.
we'll leave that
The
on.
food is great.
Right? The way that people are treated inside the restaurant, customer service, most people expect crappy service. So when you give them at least decent service, they'll love you. So that's one thing. I like restaurants that have the owner's personal brand or the chef up front.
Mm-hmm.
The chef will share recipes. The chef will give tips. The chef will even come out and greet people in the restaurant. A lot of times you never see a chef; he's in the back. But create that personal connection. But publicly, look for the ability to share recipes, do video, food demonstrations, and then have stories about the unique cuisine that you do. Differentiation is super important in restaurants. How do you do mac and cheese different? Is it lobster and truffle mac and cheese?
Yeah.
And then owners too. Owners, front of the house, greet people, but also they should be part of the community and their face should be out there. They should be talking about giving back to charity. They should be supporting food banks or whatever they're doing. And people need to know that it's X restaurant and Joe's the owner, and Joe's a great guy in the community. So people, now you have a win-win scenario. People may come to the restaurant because of the owner. They're going to come to the restaurant because of the food. They come to the restaurant because of good service, and they're going to come to the restaurant because the atmosphere is great. So now you have like 4 winnings, and 5 if you have a decent PR activities and/or goods and social media combined. Now, it's like a recipe for success.
Yeah.
If you treat people badly, they don't see you and they don't know who you are. No one ever heard of the owner, and the chef is just in the back and never came out. Those are all assets that you could be leveraging, and you're just not. And instead of building a reputation, you're just kind of there.
Yeah.
So,
all amazing tips.
Mm-hmm.
Before we stop, I want to see what am I missing?
Mm-hmm.
What is the secret sauce? What would you suggest for somebody that is opening a business or they want to see their business go to the next level? Aside from that marketing pizza, what should they really do first besides build their reputation?
Two things that I think people forget about. They need, budgets are important. This stuff doesn't
Right.
doesn't happen for free. Advertising is very expensive. Even hiring PR firms can be expensive. Social media, boosting ads and things like that can be. So I think it's very important to create a budget. How much can you legitimately spend? And sometimes a budget is a time budget. Like I can invest this much time. Time is money, right? So you can have a financial budget and a time budget, and you have to kind of just stick to that budget for marketing and however you divide it up. So that's important because people sometimes they spend way too much on one thing and too little on another thing. So you got to think about the overall budget. And you do need a plan. What's your plan and goals? Like what makes this restaurant different? There's 1,000, Mexican restaurants on Long Island. How is your margarita different? How are your tacos different? How is your burrito different? Or do you have something different? How is your chef different? How is your owner different? And different is better than best. You talked about the awards before, right? Think about people want to know why you're different and what's the story about how you are different versus I'm the best. People are sick of the best.
Yeah.
There's all these awards that say they don't believe it anymore. They've heard it so much that you're the best. Everyone's the best, right? But you're different, and you're different. That's intriguing, and people want to learn more about why you're different. And people are going to talk about things that are different.
They want something to talk about. You have to be remarkable.
Like the other day, I went out and I ordered a beer, and they didn't have it. So the young lady at the restaurant brought me a little sampler of another one she thought I might like. Right?
That's great.
Fantastic. So that's different. They're customer focused,
right? Above and beyond.
And then, those little things that can trickle through to all different aspects of a business and a business that cares, And it's a grind. Businesses are grind, But you can care, but you want to do that. Know, like, trust, love, get the referrals, grow your business, and we're off. Mission solved. Mission complete. Amazing tips, amazing advice. How can people get in touch with you? I have CorbettPublicRelations.com. Pretty simple. You type in my name, Bill Corbett, PR. It usually pops up. 2 T's. 2 T's. And I'm an @LIPR guy on Twitter. But if you just type in Bill Corbett Public Relations, you'll find me. Beautiful.
Well, it's always great to see you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on. How much do I owe you for the
No,
accolades?
No, you've earned that
No.
because we got from know, like, trust to love, and consistency.
Yes.
I think that, when you build a relationship, you can't just ever take that for granted. And I know that, we've watched each other do a whole lot of things over this period of time, and that's what I see. So, Mr. Corbett,
Cheers.
always a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on The Power of Connection.